The lion wasn't roaring. It wasn't fighting. It was sinking. Under the glow of 3 pale moons, the ceremonial lake shimmered like polished glass. Golden light from hovering chandeliers reflected across the surface, masking the depth beneath. From the marble balconies above, nobles in jeweled armor leaned forward with mild curiosity. They had gathered for discipline, for spectacle, for correction. What they got instead was silence. The royal beast surfaced once, massive paws clawing weakly at the water. Its meneh, thick and bronze, spread across the surface like liquid fire before slipping under again. No roar. No defiance. Just confusion. At the highest balcony stood Princess Valera of House Cerathis. Her posture was perfect. Hands folded behind her back. Expression composed. It hesitated during combat drills, she announced calmly. A predator that questions command cannot represent the crown. A ripple of approval passed through the court. Below, near the lower guardrail, stood a human exchange soldier. Sergeant Adrian Cole. He wasn't meant to be noticed. Humans were recent additions to interstellar diplomacy, classified as physically capable but politically insignificant. Adrian had been assigned ceremonial security. Stand still. Observe. Learn. Do not interfere. The lion broke the surface again. Its golden eyes locked, not on the princess, but on the crowd. Searching. The surface swallowed it once more. Adrian felt his jaw tighten. They sedated it, he muttered. A palace guard beside him stiffened. It failed. This is lawful correction. Adrian didn't answer. He watched the ripples fade. The lake was engineered for intimidation, deceptively serene, bottomless at its center. A royal symbol of consequence. The lion did not resurface. Something shifted in Adrian's chest. A calculation. Weight. Distance. Water temperature. Time submerged. Too long. He unfastened his armored jacket. The metallic clasps echoed louder than they should have. A guard turned sharply. Human. Stand down. Adrian stepped onto the marble edge. Protocol, the guard began. The water broke again. A pour. Weak. Trembling. Then gone. Adrian didn't think. He jumped. The splash shattered royal composure. Gasps erupted across the balconies as the human soldier cut through the freezing water with ruthless efficiency. The lake bit like knives. Heavy fabric dragged at his limbs. He ignored it. 10 strokes forward. Down. The world turned dark and silent beneath the surface. The ceremonial lights above became distant stars. There. A massive shape descending. The lion wasn't thrashing anymore. It was sinking straight down. Adrian reached it and wrapped one arm under its neck, the other locking beneath its foreleg. The creature was enormous, far heavier than he anticipated. Dead weight in cold water. Its eyes flickered open. Not wild. Not furious. Afraid. Adrian kicked upward. His lungs burned. The surface seemed impossibly far. For a moment, gravity felt stronger than will. Then the lion moved. Not to fight. To cling. One massive paw hooked against Adrian's shoulder. Together they broke the surface. The court fell silent. Adrian dragged the beast toward the marble steps. Each pull felt like towing a boulder. His muscles screamed. The sedatives were still heavy in the lion's system. Let him drown with it, Princess Valera said evenly from above. No one moved to assist. That wasn't how this court functioned. Strength proved itself. Or it didn't. Adrian reached the steps. His hands slipped once. Twice. Then he forced the lion's weight onto the lowest platform and heaved with everything left in him. The beast collapsed onto the marble, water cascading off its meneh. Adrian followed, coughing hard. The lion didn't roar. It didn't bare its teeth. It didn't retreat. Slowly, uncertainly, it pushed itself upright. And pressed its massive head against Adrian's chest. The sound that followed wasn't a growl. It was a low, rumbling exhale. Relief. The nobles froze. Because royal beasts did not show vulnerability. And they certainly did not choose outsiders. Princess Valera stepped forward to the balcony edge. Her expression had changed. No longer bored. No longer detached. Curious. Interesting, she murmured. Below, palace handlers approached cautiously with shock prods. The lion turned its head. And growled. Not at the human. At them. The message was unmistakable. Adrian rose slowly, placing a steady hand against the creature's meneh. It's done, he said calmly. The lion didn't look at the throne. It didn't look at the guards. It didn't look at the princess. It stayed at Adrian's side. 3 moons reflected in its eyes. And something unspoken passed through the court. This was no longer a failed symbol. This was a choice. And in royal courts, choice was more dangerous than rebellion. The royal court was designed to make you feel small. The ceiling arched impossibly high, carved from white stone that shimmered faintly under suspended starlight. Banners of conquered systems hung like trophies between towering pillars. At the far end of the chamber rose the throne of Cerithis, black crystal veined with gold. And at its center stood a single human soldier. Sergeant Adrian Cole remained still, boots echoing faintly on polished marble as nobles filled the gallery seats above. Whispers flowed like poison through silk. At his side lay the lion. Not chained. Not restrained. Watching. It had been cleaned, treated, and partially recovered from sedation. Its menere was brushed back, its breathing steady. But its golden eyes never strayed far from Adrian. Princess Vilera entered without announcement. The chamber fell silent instantly. She descended the grand steps slowly, regal and composed. Her long silver mantle trailed behind her like falling starlight. "You have disrupted royal discipline," she said, her voice carrying effortlessly across the chamber. Adrian met her gaze. "I prevented unnecessary death." A murmur rippled across the nobles. Vilera stopped 10 paces from him. "It was not death," she corrected smoothly. "It was consequence." "Drowning a sedated animal isn't consequence," Adrian replied evenly. "It's disposal." A sharp intake of breath echoed from the gallery. Humans did not speak like that in this chamber. Vilera's eyes narrowed slightly. "You misunderstand its purpose. The royal beast represents strength. If it hesitates, it becomes weakness." Adrian glanced down at the lion. "It hesitated because it trusts commands," he said. "That's not weakness. That's training." The lion's ear twitched at his voice. A palace handler stepped forward with a control staff. "Your Highness, the creature must be returned to containment." The handler reached for the lion's collar. The response was immediate. A low, warning growl vibrated through the chamber. Not loud, but absolute. The handler froze. The lion rose slowly to its full height, placing itself half a step in front of Adrian. Protective. The nobles shifted uncomfortably. "That," Adrian said quietly, "is choice." Vilera studied the beast. It did not look at her. It did not bow. It did not kneel. Royal beasts were conditioned from birth to respond exclusively to the throne. This one had turned its back. The symbolism was dangerous. "Animals bond to proximity," Vilera said carefully. "It is temporary confusion." Adrian shook his head slightly. "No." It decided. Silence pressed down on the chamber. For the first time in decades, a royal symbol had shown preference outside the bloodline. Vilera circled slowly, examining both man and beast. "You are aware," she said softly, "that such defiance can be interpreted as sedition." "I didn't ask it to choose me," Adrian replied. "I just jumped." "And you believe that grants you claim?" Adrian hesitated for half a second. Then, "No. It grants it a chance." Something flickered across Vilera's expression. Annoyance. Curiosity. Calculation. She turned to the gallery. "A beast that abandons its sovereign," she announced, "is no longer royal." Gasps filled the chamber. "It is reassigned." Her eyes returned to Adrian. "Very well, human. You may keep it." The words landed like a blade drop. Nobles whispered furiously. Adrian blinked once. "You're serious?" Vilera's tone remained smooth. "A symbol that chooses a foreign soldier weakens the throne if forced to remain. But if it fails you," she stepped closer, "I will not intervene." The implication was clear. If the lion attacked him, if it disobeyed him, if it caused instability, it would die. And so might he. Adrian looked down at the lion. The creature's tail flicked once. Steady. Alert. Alive. He extended his hand. The lion leaned into it. No fear. No hesitation. Vilera watched that interaction carefully. "You risk much for a predator," she said. Adrian shrugged lightly. "On Earth, we don't abandon things just because they hesitate." A subtle tension rippled through the nobles. Because hesitation was common in war. Fear was common. And this human was suggesting that strength didn't require cruelty. Vilera turned away, ascending the steps back toward her throne. "Then let this be a lesson," she declared. "Strength without loyalty is instability." The court bowed. Adrian did not. He simply stood. beside the lion. As nobles began filing out, several high-ranking houses lingered in shadowed alcoves, voices low and sharp. A human influences royal image. A symbol defects to an outsider. This weakens perception. Adrian noticed the stares. He didn't react. But the lion did. Its eyes tracked every whisper. Vilera paused at the top of the steps. She did not look back. But she spoke. Human. Adrian lifted his head. Care for it well. Her tone shifted, barely. When it chooses again. I will be watching. The chamber doors opened. The court dispersed. But tension did not. As Adrian walked out of the hall, the lion pacing silently beside him, a single thought echoed through the palace. Royal symbols do not defect without consequence. And beyond the capital spires, beyond the palace walls, there were those who had just seen opportunity. The first warning wasn't sound. It was silence. The outer training grounds were never quiet. Wind moved through the silverleaf trees. Distant patrol drones hummed overhead. Palace guards rotated in disciplined patterns along the perimeter walls. But tonight, nothing. Sergeant Adrian Cole stopped walking. The lion stopped with him. They had been assigned temporary quarters near the eastern training terraces. Adrian insisted on walking the perimeter himself every night. Not because he was ordered to. Because humans trusted routine. The lion's ears twitched. Its muscles tightened. Adrian didn't look down at it. He looked at the tree line. Lights flickered once. And died. The entire terrace went dark. No alarm. No announcement. Just a system blackout. That's not accidental, Adrian muttered. A faint sound brushed across the gravel behind him. Too controlled to be wind. He pivoted. Blade. Fast. Precise. The strike aimed directly at his throat. Adrian dropped backward, the vibroblade slicing air where his neck had been a split second earlier. The attacker moved with professional silence, cloaked armor bending light around its form. Assassin. Before Adrian could fully recover. Gold flashed. The lion hit the attacker midair with bone-crushing force. The impact cracked against the stone terrace, shattering the assassin's stealth field in a burst of distortion. The lion didn't roar theatrically. It roared violently. The sound ripped across the dark courtyard like a shockwave. 3 more figures emerged from the shadows. Coordinated. Disciplined. This wasn't random revenge. This was political execution. 4. Adrian breathed. He rolled to his feet as one assassin fired a pulse round. The lion moved before the shot landed. It shoved Adrian sideways, taking the blast across its armored flank. The impact scorched fur but didn't drop it. Rage ignited in its eyes. Adrian drew his sidearm. Left, he barked instinctively. The lion responded instantly. Not confused. Not wild. Focused. It lunged into the assassin flanking Adrian's blind side, jaws clamping onto armored forearm. Bones snapped audibly. Adrian fired twice. Precise. Controlled. One attacker dropped. The remaining 2 split directions, classic containment tactic. They had studied him. They had not studied the lion. One attempted elevation, leaping toward the terrace wall. The lion intercepted midair, dragging the assassin down with brutal efficiency. The final attacker hesitated. That was the mistake. Adrian closed distance in 3 strides and slammed him against the marble column. The vibroblade clattered across the stone. Adrian pressed the barrel under the assassin's helmet. Who sent you? Silence. The assassin's jaw tightened. Poison capsule. Adrian knocked it free just before the operative bit down, but the figure collapsed anyway, neural failsafe activating. Professional. Clean. Dead. The courtyard fell silent again. The lion stood over the final body, chest heaving, blood matting parts of its menere. It limped slightly where the pulse blast had struck. Adrian moved to it immediately. Hey. Easy. The lion turned toward him. For a heartbeat, adrenaline still burned in its eyes. Then recognition replaced it. It stepped closer. And leaned its massive weight briefly against him. Not dominance. Stability. Palace alarms finally ignited across the compound. Guards flooded the terrace seconds too late. Weapons raised. Then slowly lowered. Princess Vilera watched from her balcony above the training grounds. She had seen the entire encounter. Unblinking. An advisor stepped beside her, shaken. Your Highness, this confirms it. House Terran moves against you. They believed the human destabilized perception of authority. Vilera's gaze never left the terrace below. The lion now sat beside Adrian. Alert. Guarding him. Not the throne. Not the palace. Him. They miscalculated, she said softly. Yes, Highness. No, she corrected. They miscalculated the human. Below, Adrian stood calmly as medics approached the lion. He refused assistance for himself. Check it first, he ordered. The lion growled at the medics initially, then stilled when Adrian rested a hand against its menere. Trust transferred. Not forced. Vilira felt something shift internally. Royal beasts were trained to obey. This one had acted. Not because it was commanded. Because it decided. It had shielded him from a pulse round. It had moved at verbal cues it had never been trained to recognize. It had coordinated. Chosen. Strength with loyalty. Her own words echoed back at her. Shall we detain the human for questioning? The advisor asked cautiously. For appearance. Vilira considered it. Then shook her head. No. The advisor stiffened. But the court. We'll see what happened, she interrupted. And they will understand. Below, Adrian met her gaze across the distance. No accusation. No arrogance. Just steady calm. He gave a small nod. Not bowing. Acknowledging. The lion rose slowly and positioned itself between Adrian and the palace entrance. Guarding. Not as property. As partner. Vilira's fingers tightened slightly against the balcony rail. For the first time since the lake. She wondered if she had misjudged not the beast, but the species. Because 4 elite assassins had come prepared to eliminate a foreign soldier. And they had been dismantled in under a minute. Without panic. Without spectacle. Just instinct. Just coordination. Just loyalty. Below, Adrian turned toward the palace interior. The lion matched his stride perfectly. Vilira watched them disappear into the corridor shadows. And quietly understood something dangerous. If rival houses were bold enough to strike at a human, they would not stop at one attempt. They didn't hide it this time. The summons was formal. Public. Impossible to ignore. 3 days after the assassination attempt, the royal arena of Serathis filled to capacity. Tens of thousands packed the ascending rings of white stone. War banners fluttered. Noble houses arrived in full regalia. This wasn't punishment. This was perception control. Sergeant Adrian Cole stood at the center of the arena floor. Unarmed. Alone. Across the Colosseum, Princess Vilira rose from the elevated throne balcony carved directly into the arena wall. Her voice carried through amplification fields. Recent events have raised questions, she began smoothly. The crowd murmured. A royal beast once assigned to the throne has altered its allegiance. The word allegiance hung heavy. Adrian didn't move. Behind the sealed iron gates at the far end of the arena, something massive shifted. The crowd leaned forward. Vilira's eyes settled on Adrian. You claim loyalty is earned, not commanded. I don't claim it, Adrian answered calmly. It proves itself. A faint ripple moved through the nobles. Vilira lifted her hand. The gates opened. The lion stepped into the arena. Fully armored. Its menere braided with royal insignia it had not worn since the lake. Gasps erupted across the crowd. The symbolism was unmistakable. If the lion returned to the princess, authority restored. If it chose the human, the narrative changed permanently. The gate slammed shut behind it. Adrian remained still. He gave no command. He didn't call out. He didn't kneel. The lion stood at the opposite end of the arena, golden eyes scanning the tiers of nobles, then settling on the throne balcony. Silence swallowed the Colosseum. Vilira rose slowly. If the beast kneels to the throne, she declared, it shall be reinstated. The crowd held its breath. The lion began to walk. Each step echoed across the stone. Not rushed. Not hesitant. Measured. It stopped halfway. Looked up at the throne. Then turned its head. Toward Adrian. He didn't gesture. Didn't speak. He simply stood. The lion changed direction. A collective intake of breath rippled outward like a shockwave. Step by step, it crossed the remaining distance. And stopped beside him. It did not bow. It did not kneel. It sat at his side. Facing the throne. The arena exploded into noise. Some in outrage. Some in awe. Some in fear. Vilira did not react immediately. She studied the scene carefully. The lion hadn't attacked. Hadn't rebelled. It had simply chosen. And the human had done nothing to force it. Adrian finally spoke, quiet, but audible through the arena acoustics. "I didn't take it from you." Valera's eyes sharpened. "It left." A murmur rolled through the tiers. House Terran nobles exchanged dark looks. Because this wasn't merely about a beast anymore. This was about influence, authority, symbolism. Valera descended from the balcony level, stepping into the arena itself, an unprecedented move. The crowd fell silent again. She stopped 10 paces from the pair. The lion did not move toward her. But it did not show aggression either. It remained steady, balanced, loyal. "You understand," she said softly to Adrian, "that this display weakens the throne." Adrian met her gaze. "Or strengthens it?" She tilted her head slightly. "Explain." "You told your court strength without loyalty is instability," he replied. "This proves loyalty can't be forced. That makes you stronger, not weaker." The statement rippled through the nobles. Because it reframed the event. Not defiance. Evolution. Valera looked at the lion. Then at the thousands watching. If she ordered it seized now, it would resist. If she ordered it executed, the human would resist. If she punished the human, she would confirm the rival house's narrative of insecurity. She understood politics too well to choose wrong in public. Finally, she lifted her hand. Trial concluded. The arena went still. The beast has made its decision. A wave of tension broke. It shall remain with the human. Outrage from certain noble sections. Approval from others. But Valera continued. And let it be known, loyalty chosen freely is stronger than loyalty commanded. The statement changed everything. Because she had just absorbed the narrative. And made it policy. The lion rose. Walked calmly at Adrian's side as they turned toward the exit gates. They did not look back. Above, House Terran representatives sat rigid with anger. Their assassination had failed. Their spectacle had failed. Their political maneuver had failed. And now the human had public favor. That made him dangerous. Very dangerous. As Adrian exited the arena corridor, the lion brushing against his leg lightly, he muttered. "You really don't like politics, eh?" The lion flicked its tail once. Calm. Steady. Alive. Behind them, in the high balconies, House Terran leadership quietly activated a different strategy. If subtle assassination failed, if public humiliation failed, there remained one option left in interstellar politics. Overthrow. Cliffhanger. They couldn't control the beast. They couldn't control the human. So they decided to remove the throne instead. The coup did not begin with shouting. It began with silence. A system-wide communications blackout. The palace lights flickered once. Then emergency crimson flooded the corridors. Sergeant Adrian Cole was already awake when the first explosion hit. The shockwave rattled the reinforced windows of his quarters. The lion was on its feet before the debris stopped falling from the ceiling. Not confused. Not panicked. Ready. "Yeah," Adrian muttered, grabbing his sidearm and combat vest. "I was waiting for this." A second detonation shook the eastern wing of the palace, the direction of the Royal Council chamber. House Terran had stopped playing political games. This was removal. Not influence. Adrian checked the corridor display panel. Security grid, compromised. Royal Guard channels, fragmented. Internal forces fighting internal forces. Classic coup architecture. He crouched and met the lion's gaze. Throne chamber. The lion didn't need further explanation. They moved. The palace halls, once immaculate and ceremonial, now echoed with pulse fire and collapsing masonry. Loyalist guards clashed with armored insurgents bearing Terran insignia. An explosion ripped open a side corridor. 3 rebels charged through smoke. The lion hit the first before Adrian even raised his weapon. Bone cracked. Armor bent. Adrian fired controlled bursts into the second and third attackers. No hesitation. No wasted movement. They advanced together, fluid, synchronized, instinctive. The lion didn't act like a beast. It acted like a soldier. Turning corners wide. Checking blind angles. Covering Adrian's flanks. Twice more insurgents attempted ambush. Twice they failed. Because they had studied palace security. They had not studied human combat reflex. And they had not studied what loyalty looked like under fire. They reached the throne corridor. It was chaos. Marble columns shattered. Royal banners burning. At the far end of the hall, Princess Valera stood near the throne platform, surrounded by a shrinking circle of loyal guards. Across from her, House Terran's commander raised a plasma rifle. "Your reign ends tonight," he declared. Adrian didn't think. He moved. A rebel spotted him. "Human." Too late. The lion roared, not for spectacle, but as a shock tactic. It launched through smoke and debris, slamming into the nearest insurgent squad. The impact created just enough distraction. Adrian tackled the rifleman from the side as the plasma discharge fired. The bolt scorched the ceiling instead of Valeera's chest. They crashed to the marble floor. The commander struggled, strong, armored, trained. Adrian headbutted him hard enough to fracture the helmet visor. "Wrong calculation," Adrian growled. The lion finished the rest. Silence fell slowly. One by one, remaining rebels dropped weapons. Not because they were overwhelmed by numbers, but because they were overwhelmed by precision. The throne chamber still stood. Damaged, but standing. Princess Valeera stepped forward through smoke and drifting ash. Her gaze settled on Adrian. On the lion. On the fallen coup commander. "You were not ordered to intervene," she said quietly. Adrian adjusted his grip on his sidearm. "You were about to be shot. That was not your jurisdiction." He shrugged slightly. "Humans don't save based on jurisdiction." The lion moved to his side again, brushing against him briefly before turning outward, still guarding. Valeera studied them both. The Royal Guard commander approached cautiously. "Highness, House Terran leadership is either captured or neutralized. The coup has failed." A long silence followed. The court members, shaken, soot-covered, stunned, watched closely. Valeera slowly ascended the damaged throne steps. She turned to face the chamber. "Effective immediately," she declared, voice steady despite the destruction. "Royal doctrine is amended." Every noble present straightened. Strength without loyalty invites rebellion. Her eyes shifted briefly toward Adrian. "From this day forward, loyalty earned shall hold equal weight to authority inherited." Murmurs rippled through the hall. She continued. "Human military doctrine will be formally studied." The chamber stirred louder now. "And House Terran's assets will be redistributed among loyal systems." The message was clear. The coup had not weakened her. It had refined her. She descended the steps again, stopping before Adrian. "You risked your life for a throne that once discarded you," she said. Adrian shook his head. "You didn't discard me." Her eyebrow lifted slightly. "You nearly drowned my companion." He glanced at the lion. "You corrected it." Valeera held his gaze. For the first time, there was no superiority in it. Only acknowledgement. "You are not like our soldiers," she said. "No," Adrian agreed. "I'm not." The lion exhaled slowly and sat beside him, calm now. The chamber, once echoing with rebellion, stood in quiet recognition. The coup had failed not because of overwhelming force, but because a human had moved without hesitation, and a beast had chosen without fear. Valeera turned to her court. "Let it be recorded," she declared, "that tonight the throne was preserved not by dominance, but by loyalty." The nobles bowed. Some reluctantly, some thoughtfully, but all bowed. Adrian holstered his weapon. "I'm just a soldier," he said quietly. Valeera allowed the faintest smile. "Yes," she replied. "That appears to be the difference." The lion rose. The smoke cleared. The throne remained. And across the empire, a new doctrine began to circulate. Humans do not hesitate. They do not calculate spectacle. They move. And when they move, they bring loyalty with them.